Welcome to Think Fast, where we are wondering why Bombay weather is so amazing. Why? Because it rained, and so suddenly people are excited that it has rained. There was thunderstorm yesterday in Bombay. But soon we will all crib about the fact that why is it raining in Bombay? How is Delhi? How is the Delhi?
Dude, just thank you for rubbing it in because it is disgusting. I was in Bombay for 1.5 days and I swear sweat, which is a consequence of humidity, is much better than sweat, which is a consequence of disgusting, soul wrenching, dry heat. Delhi is like Mars. I don't even need Elon Musk to problem solve for, driving us to different planets. You feel, I'm not even joking, dude. I've been born and brought up in Delhi and I don't think we have had a summer as atrocious as this. It is just the worst.
Global warming.
Now that I'm done complaining about the weather.
By the way, has Elon bought Twitter or not? He's saying he might pull out again.
Dude, I mean, this was bound to happen.
He wanted a घर पे delivery and return policy and all he wanted. He thought he's ordering on Amazon. So abhi thoda problem ho gaya.
Yeah, that's true. Poor Elon Musk. And actually, I feel really bad for Twitter, man. Unnecessary, eyeballs on, an otherwise cruising, going nowhere platform. I know. Parag. Always happens to Desis.
Elon has too many questions. And actually, speaking of questions, I think we realized we did something in the last episode which we should have been smarter. We did a call out to all our listeners, all of you listeners who are listening in, saying, if you have any questions for us, you can write into us either at our individual social handles or to IVM, and we will pop that into the episode. I was going to say we'll call you out. We will not call you out. We will say thank you for sending the questions. And so send that in. Nice questions, weird questions, all welcome. No naughty questions, please.
Please ask Varun only naughty questions, guys.
Naughty questions. What are the non-veg questions, veg questions? All welcome, please.
You are such an uncle. It's like every single Saturday I record with you, I feel like you're getting older by the week, bro. Yes, it's like talking to my dad, Varun. I'm not even joking. And not to reiterate the age. Oh my God. आपने Kyra के बारे में सुना, Papa ji? I'm sure you're one of the uncles creeping up on Kyra. Oh my God. You are Lakwinder Singh, who has posted so beautiful, very nice.
But don't take away from the story we will discuss later in the episode.
Yes.
What's happened this week? Amazon plans to pull out of the race for cricket rights. We've discussed cricket rights a lot, I feel like, in the last many months. And we finally come to that culmination of when it's actually going to happen. There's a weird rumor going on Twitter, which either it's a very strong PR strategy by some others, or otherwise saying that Hotstar also might not actually go and break the bank like they did last time when they bid for the IPL rights. So strong chance. I mean, Hotstar might be pulling back. Also, because IPL this year was not... didn't see the kind of numbers coming in from an audience perspective as, let's say, last couple of seasons. There is fatigue. The 10 teams, it went on forever. Might be that. But what else is happening?
Cred has entered the $6.4 billion club. They recently raised, I don't know how much money it was because someone said 140 million, someone else said 80 million.
It's a crazy number.
But they've raised some amount of money from GIC and they've sort of, got to that 6.4, 6.5. But congratulations to the Cred team. To be fair, dude, their revenue has really picked up, and it seems like they've gone all in on lending, which is something I think I had spoken about in one of our episodes. I wouldn't be surprised if e-com continues just to be a way for them to keep their consumers engaged, but lending seems to be the real business that's working for them. In other news, Kering, which basically owns Gucci, they've recruited a Tiffany executive to run their Chinese operations. This I actually found super interesting because thanks to obviously coronavirus and generally China not being very democratic, there's been a clampdown of all things associated with China, right? And I think globally a lot of the questions that have been coming up has been why does this country have so much power? And you see it in the numbers, right? So when I was reading this article, one thing that stood out was for a company like Gucci, over 50% of their revenue comes from China. So, if you're in luxury, you just cannot ignore your Chinese strategy, and you're seeing that happen across the board with the LVs, Tiffany's, etc., of the world. So that's what's happening on the luxury front. What else?
Reserve Bank of India is recommending connecting credit cards to UPI. This whole credit card fiasco of this, like not allowing international transactions, all that stuff. I'm guessing this is a good way to kind of combat that. Although it's only for RuPay cards, not Visa and MasterCard yet. So I think it'll take some time, but it seems to be a smart way to do it. You can honestly just leave your credit card at home then, and you can do credit card transactions without even carrying that card along. So at some point, I feel, the more you think about UPI should be something we should export to the world.
Yeah.
When you leave the country, you realize that, oh my God, you guys still use cards.
Yeah.
It's become like that kind of a thing. But that's another piece that happened. India is the first market to have Puma shopping app.
Yeah, so this was actually, dude, interesting. And also, I didn't realize this because maybe I'm not much of a Puma shopper, but Puma across all e-com platforms is doing fantastically well. I know that they're one of the top sellers on Myntra, if I'm not mistaken. And I think similarly with other fashion apps, like I think they're doing fairly well for Nykaa, fairly well for Ajio and the likes. But yeah, Desis apparently love their Puma. We should do a dissection of like what has made Puma, not just stick around in India, but also grow with the Indian female shopper.
They're reasonably prevalent actually in the Indian market. 4-day work week trial starts off in the UK. It's the biggest pilot. The government's moving the whole country to a 4-day work week. Perfect timing for me to go there and check it out. Although I'm not working there.
Yeah, dude, this is like, I don't know, man. I feel like all of Europe...
no day work week. I think that's the idea. I want to push for that.
Sure, we can. But like, I feel like all of Europe, technically speaking, works only 4 days in a week. Like, if you go to literally any city in Europe, right? Like their average number of like working hours in a day, I swear on my life, I don't think is more than 5 to 6. Like the amount they work in a week is how much like a Desi works like in an hour. You know what I mean? So I don't know what this trial does for anyone or doesn't do for anyone. Also not to sort of correlate, number of hours worked to growth. But I mean, let's be honest, dude, the UK especially needs to really think through how they're going to drive economic growth. I don't
think the 4-day work week helps in that case. They have too many problems. I agree with you.
Yeah. But last, fun story of the week. Have you been seeing the Titan and Tanishq ads?
I actually haven't. You were telling me about before we started recording.
So super nicely done. I feel like Titan and Tanishq at large have this way of being quote unquote woke without like, really like stirring the pot unnecessarily. Like this really fun ad with, Alia Bhatt, which was, talking about like Alia Bhatt getting married in her trousseau or some, conversation around that. And Alia Bhatt has like this cheeky, tongue-in-cheek response to her over-familiar Masi. They recently had another ad where they sort of, put the spotlight on maternity leave. And just because someone's on maternity leave doesn't mean they're, chilling for 6 months at home. They covered that as well. So they have this really nice way of, talking about topics which I guess like need to be discussed, but they don't do it in a, righteous, like follow the leader kind of way, which is fairly nice to see. You also spotted another nice ad.
Yeah, there's a lovely ad by Bharat Matrimony, which was, I thought, very progressive, right? It's basically showing the flip in narrative. And I don't want to give it away, but it's a really progressive one talking about how we look at gender roles, even when we look at matrimony, but how guys come to choose and in general, but how this can actually be flipped and how it should be about the women. I don't want to give it away, but please go watch that ad. It's lovely. I mean, super progressive and very nicely done.
Unlike Lear Shorts, which was absolutely horrible.
World's worst response to a bad ad.
Exactly. Like such a stupid response. Patriarchy.
We didn't think people will get. We checked it very properly. We didn't think people will get upset. Just say that you made a mistake. Just say it. Galti ho gaya.
I know.
But yes, it is time to take a break, and I have brought my friend Deadpool with me today here. I don't know copyrights are being infringed by getting Deadpool here, but I have a toy, so I can show him. Deadpool turns around and he goes like, see, this is one clothes. Welcome back to Think Fast, where me and Deadpool are back with Suchita, who is still cribbing about the heat in Delhi. But who is not cribbing? Physicswallah is not cribbing. Do you know about Physicswallah at all, Suchita? Have you heard of this company?
I saw them on Twitter because they raised some
$100 million.
obnoxious amounts of money at an obnoxious valuation.
So
yes.
it's a super interesting company, right? So it started by Alak Pandey in 2016, and so he was like doing all their online and offline courses on like IIT, JEE, except the name Physicswallah because you're teaching physics and you kind of getting into all of that stuff. A lot of lectures, live classes, etc. He's become the prime like driver for anybody who's preparing for IIT or NEET or any of the engineering ones right now. Interestingly, has always focused on two things, which is profitability and also to kind of give back. So for instance, there is an entire program to kind of help people who can't afford these courses to be able to get access to it and stuff like that. Also famously, and this is like it's there in all the articles, but it basically everywhere it says that it's a rumor because you can't, there's no like thing to back it up, that supposedly was offered like some insane amount of money by Unacademy to kind of come on board, but he said no, saying because it doesn't align to that, and has never spent money on marketing. So he's profitable, never spent money on marketing, and he's a unicorn now and raised $100 million. So it's a great story.
Yeah, I mean, it is a great story, but I mean, my question would be, why raise money? You know what I mean? Like so as per these numbers, they posted profits of 6.92 CR in FY21. Their revenue, which doesn't seem groundbreaking, in the same financial year was about 24.6 crores, but apparently their revenue...
The profits are about 6.9 crores, yeah.
12x. But their revenue has apparently gone from close to 25 CR to 350 crores is what they're saying they will reach or have attained in FY22, which is the financial year that just got done. I don't know. My question is like, why raise so much money? And not to say that they haven't got good investors backing them. Like GSV is known for their edtech bets, as to some extent is, Westbridge. But why raise money if, you're making 6.92 crores in profit?
As someone who's actually been for some of those coaches, I mean, the early days before all the Unacademy, etc., I went for IIT coaching back in the day, crashed and burned very quickly in that whole space of things. Definitely did not get into IIT. But the offline classes become super important because as much as you do stuff online, the offline part really helps, which is why even if you get a Byju's and the, I think, Akash.
Unacademy just got this shit with Allen Career Institute. Didn't you see that video? Oh my God, that guy with the tika, very creepy, like full like...
I have a feeling this is for offline scale up. Everyone's actually been asking about why he raised, because he's always said, I'm focused on these things, I don't necessarily need to raise, but he has finally raised. So I guess some things happened for him to want to scale more. But all in all, I mein, seems to be, there's only positive things that people say about him. I have not heard any negative news in anything which I checked about him. So all in all seems to be like a smart person focusing on profits, but also like kind of giving back and things like that and growing it, right? So hopefully this $100 million doesn't dilute that.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at just the edtech landscape at large right now, right? One point that you brought up was everyone is focusing on offline. So Unacademy is also going balls to wall with their offline focus. Varun and I were talking about, dear listeners, was there's another really popular offline, learning institute called Allen. Why the hell is it even called Allen to begin with? But whatever, right? So there's another offline institute called Allen. The guy who like runs Allen, who's this very like, what's the right word for it? Like he looks like,
creepy.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, a little like,
off.
We're
not judging people's looks, guys. We're just saying that he's creepy.
Lack of a, yes, that's correct. Not judging him by his looks, but based on his looks, he creepy dikhta hai. But in any case, so just getting back to it, so offline has been one. I think the second is, I don't know, man, in the milieu of all of these, edtech and wannabe edtech platforms, the only two things that seem to really be working is, what Byju's has done, which is this like psychotic sales and distribution engine that they've built. Like most of Byju's team is literally just sales folks. And there's this, running joke about how even Byju is an edtech. It's technically like a textbook / like hardware distribution company, because essentially all digital things aside, everything just comes down to the tangibility, the tangible thing through which those classes are consumed, right? Which in Baiju's case, if I'm not mistaken, are like tablets or whatever else it is that they, sell to parents and this, that, and the other. It's not even subscription. Unacademy did make, headway through, all that they've done through digital subscriptions. And if you, even hear Gaurav Munjal speak, he talks a lot about how he wants to be a product first and a product-led company. But I think the harsh reality that comes out in across all edtech companies is, technology and all is cool, but the second the levers need to change to, actually showing scale, you end up doing things like what Unacademy is doing right now, which is, going offline, very aggressive, sales teams, distribution of hardware, textbooks, reading material, plus. So you see a lot of that happen. So I think the larger question to ask over here is there genuinely any technology in edtech?
Even this, right?
Or is, most of it
was a YouTube channel, obviously scaled entirely of YouTube. Large amount of the revenue that they've made has also been of like YouTube ads and stuff like that, right? And I mean, just looking at I just went through another article, and the numbers they're claiming they'll make this year. I know I'm mumbling here. Is 350 crores is the revenue they are forecasting for 2022, which is obviously like a massive jump from what last year's numbers were. And they're also moving to an app model. They're going because they realize a bunch of stuff which they want to do in the courses on the online space they can't do on YouTube. So they've actually moving to the app model. So I'm guessing part of that goes into scaling that and also sales. But I agree with you, is that edtech is largely still I would say at least 50% offline and 50% online. And I don't think that will change. The idea of being pure online, I don't think works in the long term, especially for categories like this. It might work for courses for professionals. Where let's say somebody's upskilling, etc. That might be where it will work, because it'll be easier for them to not have to go to an offline center. But if you are targeting this category of, let's say, engineering, medical, that entire bunch, you got to put them in person.
Yeah. You can't run away from it. Let's switch gears, man. My first story for today is purple. So for those of you who are uninitiated, purple is...
एक ज़माने में मेरा favorite color होता था purple.
Oh my God. But Pantone color of the year is Peri Peri Purple in any case. So purple, ladies and gents, is in the news because they have raised $33 million, which has sort of, bumped them into the unicorn club. They're the 102nd unicorn in India. And of course, Purple, for those of you who don't know, is a marketplace for, beauty and personal care products and goods. That said, actually a chunk of their revenue, so I think majority of their revenue comes through their own private labels. So they've launched a bunch of private labels from NYB to Good Vibes and a couple of others. And the interesting thing about their strategy has been that, they're not just another place where you can find Lakme at 60% off. You find differentiated supply on Purple, which is, obviously help them, position themselves slightly differently from Nykaa. Interestingly enough, both Purple and Nykaa started out at the same time. And it seems like Purple's, really, like, that saying, right? Rising tide lifts all boats. So I think Nykaa's little like IPO pop has also given Purple, the additional momentum that the company may or may not have needed to be, in the limelight. And at least I see people talking about Purple much more than before. So your TLDR on Purple and their strategy of going private label first.
I guess private label makes sense for the kind of consumer they're going after as well. I think the consumer they're kind of going after will also kind of... it's not like you'd want something non-mainstream, but I feel that it's a good way to target. You can keep prices under control, yet kind of target smartly and grow. So I think it's been smart for them to go private label in the case that because of the consumer they're primarily targeting, which is not necessarily just the upper tier one kind of a category, which I feel that Nykaa and even like MyGlam kind of... Our favorite MyGlam we have not spoken about MyGlam in a while. All tend to go after...
Yeah, man, so quiet.
No acquisitions? What's happening?
Yeah. Oh my God. Winter must be here. Yes.
But I feel it's good to see Purple kind of evolve. It's also like there's the question of, does the Bharat consumer, does the non-tier one consumer actually buy stuff? Hopefully their growth shows that there is something there, but I still think we're far away from seeing that consumer really kind of scale up. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, the things that have definitely given them head start, so to speak. First, let me start by running through like the things I really like about the company, right? They have, typical Bloom companies, and I can say this because we're a Bloom company as well, but, slow and steady
Yeah.
wins the race, right? So been like, at it for a while, built it up brick by brick. It's also like 3 male co-founders, wanting to build beauty for female customers in tier 2 plus India, which is fascinating and really goes to show that if you care enough about a problem, you'll figure out ways to solve it, irrespective of how much of the problem may or may not directly, applicable to you. I think also in the recent past, they've done a couple of like celebrity partnerships. So, for example, I think they had Sara Ali Khan promoting their app in the middle, through some sale event or the other. They also seem to have really, picked up the ball on like influencer marketing and the like. So, I think the thing that, obviously is, really great to see about companies like Purple and Nykaa is that story of great businesses aren't built overnight, right? This has been a company that's been over 10 years in the making to get into the unicorn club, and they've had their fair share of struggles, right? I think for them, like their one big win was that Goldman Sachs round that they raised, right before COVID, so 2018, 2019, and ever since then they've sort of grown from strength to strength. I think the advantage that Purple has, and I don't know how long the advantage will last for, to be honest, but I think the advantage that they have over their competitors, and just to be clear, beauty is a large enough market, right? So it's not and even in the US, it's not one size fits all, right? In the US, you also have Sephora, you have Ulta
There's so
Beauty,
many.
you have, individual brands that have
Every
done
celebrity has their own brand now.
You have individual brands who've done. Exactly. And you've also got like large scale retailers like, Target, etc., really focus on what their beauty strategy, needs to be. So, and if you have to like juxtapose that to India, you've of course got Shoppers Stop, which is your OG offline, beauty sort of like retailer. You've got Nykaa that evidently has crushed it. I think Purple's short to mid-term advantage has been this like private label strategy of theirs, which is, launch your own brands, build those brands out, use those brands to, drive both top line and bottom line for you. But I think, the challenge that all these companies will face over time is everyone is ghusoing into beauty, right? Myntra's figuring out what their beauty angle is. Amazon is suddenly taking beauty seriously. Big Basket, I remember reading some obscure article about Big Basket also wanting to, get into BPC as a space. So I think it's like everyone's trying to, get into each other's territory. So I wonder what Purple's like long-term play will be. Like, for example, you've seen Nykaa get into fashion and home, right? Will Purple go multi-category? I don't know. Nykaa's sort of started tier 1 and then went into tier 2, tier 3 plus. Will Purple, make headway into your top, 8 to 10 odd cities? Only time will tell. But yeah, the space is heating up, man.
But I actually don't have much more to add on the Purple story. But what I feel is good is the fact that I'm very gung-ho whenever I see someone doing well in the non-tier 1 market, because I think that's the only way we can grow as a marketplace, as an economy. So I'm hoping they figure out more things to add in there and they kind of scale as well. And good on your Purple. मेरे एक ज़माने का favorite color. My daughter changed my favorite color, in case anybody is wondering. It is now supposed to be blue because my daughter has said so.
Okay,
but
lovely.
Moving swiftly ahead, what is my next story? Pepper Content just raised 14 point. All the stories are about people raising. You realize that? I've just realized this.
Winter has gone away, guys. Evidently,
For
it's
good
like 6,000
businesses.
degrees in Delhi right now. Yeah,
so Pepper Content raised 14.3 million. Their Series A. Pepper's actually a super interesting company. They founded out of Bits Pilani Hostel by Anirudh Singla and Rishabh Shekhar. And the idea was simply this, is that can we become a marketplace aggregator for freelancers in the content space? So they start off with writers, language translators, all that stuff. But they've now scaled to like, let's say, design, video, animation, etc. They've even built like an AI tool for captioning. So they've scaled a lot in recent times. I think the pandemic also really helped them, because brands really were looking for ways to kind of hone in on this. A lot of the new age brands do work with them, but they've been able to get in like work from a lot of traditional companies as well now. So all in all, it's been smart growth for them. Adding the tech stack in there was actually a smart move because it takes them beyond just being reliant on people. I think over time that might be a space which they might grow in, and they're looking to expand into the American market, which is why they've raised this round. So before I get deeper into this, first thoughts on Pepper's strategy and how they've grown.
So I've had a chance to interact with the founder once, and I think we tried using Pepper's SEO content services or whatever. So a couple of things. One, I think the space is super interesting, and you've seen platforms like Grammarly, for example, take such a specific use case of like clean and clear grammar and build a fantastic business off of it, right? And that Imagine is only like one part of content. So I really love their like mission statement about how you literally cannot exist on the internet if you're not thinking about your content marketing. I do think, and I'm sure we'll get into the business more deeply, but I do think this will be an operations heavy business. I know they've tried a lot of things around NLP and this, that, and the other, and basically technology is built on top of, I'm forgetting the thing, oh god, what is it called, G something, in any case. So basically they build technology on top of a lot of like language processing databases and the likes, but I think their business will be operational heavy, and I don't know, I think that's where there's like a like SaaS is cool, but is it really software as a service? I don't know. But before we get into how they classify or don't classify their business, I love the space that they're in. I love the category that they're in, and I think the founder is really cool, man. I've really enjoyed my interactions with him.
He's super focused. He's been really like, he's one of those guys you have a chat with and you can see someone's really like working towards a certain vision. Like I've spoken to him a bunch of times. I actually visited their office a month ago, and it's quite cool to see how much they've scaled since I think the early days when I'd met him. What's also interesting for them is they've figured a smart way to aggregate a lot of freelancers. So I feel a large part of their operations on one end is just like people coordinating between freelancers and brands. But I agree with you that for him to truly scale and not have to operationally grow as much, and one of the things which actually is there in the article as well, which we've kind of sourced a bunch of this stuff from, is also that they're building a SaaS service that's going to enable companies to manage their content operations on the platform, right? So at some point you become almost the backbone to manage content and also created with the AI tool, which I found super interesting because it did give some really good results when we tried it out as well. We've tried both working with Pepper and the AI tool at Glitch and a few other WP companies. So it's been something we've kind of pushed out and we've realized it does help. It's almost like a good add-on for people to have, even if you have like copywriters in the mix.
Yeah.
But I think the smart way to scale for them is to go to the US because they'll obviously make a lot more revenue with the dollar.
Yeah. Also, like, I think they're a good tool for companies for whom content may not be a core part of their strategy, and also companies who, frankly, are like earning enough because, for example, just our experience, but when we use them, we found them to be much more expensive than working with an in-house content writer, right, who could have 3 to 4 years of work experience. But remember, for us, because
that's a core business.
Exactly, like, and also we have a point of view on our content, right? So I can't outsource. Exactly. So I think this is great. Like if you just need like SEO content pumped out, or you need like, fillers for, some ancillary business that you're running.
E-com actually.
E-com, but
one of the biggest growth drivers has actually like companies who say, okay, I want to just build the e-com content out, just do that for me. Again, if it's not their primary focus of growth, that's where they've actually been able to plug in as well.
Yeah, but I think the challenge that they'll run into is, and actually what will be very important for their business is to have a diverse set of clients. Like I can't see them, because otherwise it'll just basically become the same content regurgitated for 3 e-com platforms with just, like the syntax or like the sentence structure change, right? So I think what will be really, really important for them, because that's the biggest issue with content, right? Like for instance, even if you had to Google search things to do in, Paharganj, for example, right now, and you should actually do this for fun. Like you'll see like 200 links show up. Each of those 200 links will be like a cut, copy, paste of each other, right? So, and that's the biggest challenge in content today is how do you differentiate your content from 20 of your competitors?
Yes.
And the only way to do that is by having a point of view. So I don't know, but like, I love what they're building, but it would be interesting for them to think about questions like this, which is, if we have too many clients in the same category, how do we make sure that one person's content is different from the other? And that's where, having like editors, or like not even editors, like let me rephrase it, like researchers, right? People who have a strong sense of what content strategy needs to be, that will be super critical for them as they scale and grow, before all their content is just a replica of something that they may have done before.
I think it is time for a break. We shall take a break. We come back and say, "Kaun hai Kyra? Kyra kaun hai?"
Yes.
Welcome back to Think Fast. And are you a hustler, Suchita? Are you a hustler? Is hustle culture your thing?
Oh, this is you segueing into a story. I like it. Uncle's got skills.
Yes.
Am I a hustler? I don't know, man. It depends on like the week and the months. But now that Varun has like prodded me to get along with the story. So Varun, you and I were talking about how, this guy called, what's his name? Raj Shamani. Yes. What does he do, Vaise? I just saw his tweet. I have no idea what this man does.
So Raj has been in this influencer creator circuit for a while. Massive following, like a couple million followers on Instagram. YouTube is also like huge number. Runs a podcast called
Hustle Culture.
I've been on it.
I am a hustler dancer.
No. He has a podcast as well. 1 second, I will pull out the name right
now. My parents should have not named me Raj.
Apologies to Raj's team, who's very sweetly tagged me in all their reels.
Raja ki aayegi barat.
What is it called? Raja ki aayegi barat? No. It's called Figuring Out. Sorry, Figuring Out. Figuring Out is his podcast. He started off as this person who was largely a public speaker. He would kind of travel the world, talking conferences and stuff like that. Comes from a business background and things like that. Motivational speaker and a bunch of other things there. But you fill in. So
basically, guys, there is this like Jalasmi. Is he actually 24 years old? That is wild.
No, he's older now.
He's older now. Acha, okay. But basically, there's this, like cluster fuckery of like people on Twitter who, like to post clickbaity content. And guess what, guys? The clickbaity content works because Mr. Raj Shamani, who runs a podcast called Raja Ki Aayegi Barat, he has evidently found his way to Think Fast. But really, he posted this tweet saying, if there were 24 hours in a day, I'd still want to work 26 hours. It's not that I'm a workaholic. I just fucking love the grind. Sounds like a child. But in any case, a lot of people started calling him out, on Twitter, as always happens. Some of the call-outs were in jest, which is what, Varun, you did. But there were others who were...
I replied to him and said, "Itna hustle mat karo, thoda life mein pause le lo." Nicely plugging in my other podcast.
Of course, yes. Too many narcissists on Twitter, as is evident. But in any case, so basically...
I mean, considering Elon Musk wants to buy it,
Sir, Elon Musk, kahan, Raj Shamani or aap kahan? Like, let's not use those names.
Some different levels ke narcissists.
That is true. That is true. Levels. But in any case, so basically, this guy got called out, and there were all of these things of like cancel, Raj, and how dare he say this, that, and the other. But let me ask you, man, two things. One, what do you make of his original tweet? And second, what do you make of this like cancel call out culture that has become, omnipresent, especially on Twitter?
So there's a funny addition to this story is the fact that a lot of people, especially creators, etc., on Twitter were just having fun with it, right? Someone replied saying, "Arey, ye LinkedIn ka post to Twitter pe galti se dal diya," and things like that, right? So people were having fun with it. And then there were a few articles that came out. I think the Quint and I forget someone else who wrote an article, and they took a lot of those responses seriously. So this is what people have said seriously, and then those same people who tweeted would started posting those articles saying, "Guys, we meant this in jest." I mean, whatever Raj might post, it's not like we were trying to push him down or anything like that. But I feel the whole hustle culture conversation is a little tiring because, I mean, if somebody wants to hustle, let them hustle. But I feel the biggest problem with hustle culture is what we construe as a good part of hustle culture, because working 24/7 doesn't mean you're hustling. Being like Jugadu, being able to get things done through is more hustle, if you ask me. Because I've always believed that it's not like overdoing things doesn't get you through, but doing it smartly, having this thing there. But this is Twitter culture. I mean, people post this stuff. I mean, it was a very clickbaity tweet. He got all the clickbait for it. So I feel that at some level,
jokes on us
people
also
got onto exactly the reaction he wanted. Yeah, people got onto the reaction exactly that he wanted. But I know there are a bunch of creators who do really promote hustle culture. And I feel at some level, what they need to be mindful of is how does that make a large part of their audience, which now ranges in the millions, kind of turn around and say, what are we taking from this? You don't want people to jump into it for the wrong reasons. I've actually had chats with a lot of like young people who keep saying, okay, I need to hustle and hustle. I'm like, why? Why do you need to do like 3 jobs when you're 19? If you don't really need it for the money, if you need it for the money, I understand. If you're from an economic background which requires you to do that, full respect. But if you're doing it because, oh my God, how can I not be hustling 3 jobs when I'm 19? Then you can. I mean, it's called having a life beyond what you do. But I also I think the filter here is if you say what I just said often enough, it's construed as privilege. And so I always try to put a disclaimer saying, I know I come from privilege, but as long as you're making money or as long as you're doing something, you'd rather focus on 1 or 2 things and go deep into it, but also do it smartly than to go 25 hours a day. I have worked 24 hours a day and it's not good. I did that in the early days and it was terrible. Bad health issues and all that stuff. But what are your thoughts on hustling?
I don't know, man. I think, somewhere like these conversations need to become, 2 things. They need to run with the caveat that, this is like, it's a subjective opinion. You know what I mean? So like live and let live, right? Honestly, some jobs require you to be on it, 24/7. There are others that, may not require you to do the same. I also think people are different, right? So for example, like, for some people, their life's goals may be learning and, quote unquote, hustling may be manifestation of, how someone learns more about a category or an industry that they're deeply interested in. For other folks, working is just a means to an end. Working is just a way to, earn a paycheck that helps you live a good life, buy the things that you want to buy. Basically, the point that I'm making is I think somewhere, and the reason why I wanted to discuss this as a part of Think Fast is because I also think, canceling people or intimidating people for genuinely enjoying what they do is like also not cool as much, as is, pushing this narrative of like working 24/7 or whatever else. I think somewhere, a balance sort of needs to be found. And I think the other thing that I'll say over here is, misuse of the word toxic needs to stop because words matter and you can't using abbreviations in context, calling everything toxic this, toxic that. Like, I'm just so sick of that word, you know what I mean? Because it's like anything and everything today is like toxic. Your employer makes you work 4 days a week.
Because it's no gray, right?
That's one thing. And the second thing is like so much, I think the people who are on Twitter especially need to realize that like if you are on Twitter and are speaking in English, you do come from a place of like privilege, right? First and foremost, accept that, right? You have a job at a company today that you don't like, you can very easily find a job tomorrow. I have a problem with this, misrepresentation of terms, calling everything toxic, calling every employee who wants to work a little bit more than what's needed, manipulated. I don't know. There's something kind of gross about the way conversations like this happen.
I like what you just said. I think the line also is the fact that if somebody wants to do it, good on them, that they believe in that and that's what they want to do. But also, if someone's over glorifying it at some level, you got to say that, dude, don't glorify it. It might be good for you, not good for me. So nobody is good or bad, like you said, in this equation. It is basically a personal choice. But I think over glorification or over like, oh, this is toxic, are both bad. You shouldn't do either. And talk about individual choice, talk about individual priorities in life. And like, I remember back in the day when I was an intern, I would sleep in the office because the office had a bunk bed. The reason I slept in the office is because it would take me an hour and a half to get home from office and I would come back the next day. I'm like, if I can't sleep here, I'll sleep. I would just carry my clothes with me.
Yeah.
Because we had a shower in the office as well. And so I was like, okay, so is that me working 25 hours a day? Not necessarily. I would go out, hang out with friends from work and do that stuff. But you got to get nuance. You got to get individual reasons for why you do what you do. But I agree with you. I'm kind of tired of the word toxic. The word toxic has become toxic.
Yes. And do you know one small thing over here? The guy who runs that Stoa school, I'm forgetting his name, but he posted something which we discussed, I think, in the past episode.
Anand?
No, it's Rohan Raj, something like whatever. In any case, so the guy who runs Stoa School, he posted this thing where he basically said that, people are now scared to talk about how hard they're working because, the impression is that by just talking about how hard I work, I'm going to have people canceling me out saying, you suck and you're bad and this, that, and the other. I don't know. I think somewhere like there has to be balance and, more than anything else, like just let people be, man. Like if people want to work 26 hours a day, kaam karne do. They're not expecting it out of you. If someone wants to work 2 hours a day and is willingly getting paid for it, good for them. Like just it is what it is and move on.
Yeah. Speaking of moving on, oh yes, my favorite story of the week is here. Have you seen Kyra yet? Kyra?
So, guys, I just want to, remind you that Varun is definitely hitting a midlife crisis because he is getting a little overstimulated and excited by more inanimate objects, one of whom happens to be a doll called Kyra.
No.
Yes.
So, I was intrigued by this entire story because it is going around saying the new India's first virtual influencer, digital influencer, 21-year-old avatar, and whatever she has, 100K followers, mostly bots. And it was started by a 26-year-old engineer / MBA from Chandigarh called Himanshu. She's on Instagram, she's on Twitter now, is what her story says. But for me, the most interesting part of this whole thing, as much as virtual influencers is a conversation to talk about, because it kind of helps a brand kind of build an influencer exactly like the kind they might want, is the comments on her posts. I'm like, guys, ये virtual hai.
Yeah.
People are like, and I think the comments for me more than anything else are like, oh my God, this is like, can we all just like chill out in life and realize that this is virtual, this is not a real person? Because literally saying, oh, kya tum asli mein virtual ho? Tum to asli lag rahi ho? Type comments everywhere. I'm like, guys, chill out. But have you checked out Kyra's Instagram account?
Dude, I am like very disturbed. Like this is so dystopian. It is wild. You know what I mean? Like just imagine real humans commenting on the appearance of like...
Nice body was a comment.
Dude,
many of those.
I am looking at one right now. I am Abbas. Meme. Pick, zoom, answer me, time, photo. I am like your lips so cute, cool. I'm just like, bro, ye asli nahi hai. Like, how do I...
Yeah. One second, I have a question. Even if it's virtual or real, who says your lips so cool? Like, what does that even mean? Like,
Varun, secretly, you only would have posted this comment. Like, you are Abbas 03, 04 Abbas on Instagram. We know that is one of your, avatars on IG. But it's just wild. Like, it's just, I don't know. Like, I mean, I know humans are gross, but like, this is like, interesting.
But the whole virtual influencer thing is interesting, right? I mean, this has been a conversation for a while. There are a bunch of those across the world. And sometimes some of those you actually don't even realize are virtual. They're created really well in that sense. But this whole point about saying that, okay, instead of having human beings as influencers, you can create the ideal kinds of influencers and just kind of content out there. As dystopian as it might seem, it feels like you can custom make it, reskin it in any form or the other and kind of use. So there is something that is happening there, especially with the metaverse conversation kind of scaling up. But I guess all jokes aside, this seems to be a trend that isn't going to stop. It's going to go more and more. It's going to scale up a lot.
Dude, I don't know, but as a female on the internet, I am happy to. I am more than happy with Indian pervy uncles commenting on, virtual influencers and Indian pervy uncles commenting on real influencers. So this helps folks get their, oxygen or whatever the kids are calling it these days, and their like creepiness out on an inanimate, not real object. Knock yourself out, fellows. Knock yourselves out.
As a weird connection to this, there was this video. I think there was a recent Meta announcement. I didn't see it fully, but I just saw one clip of where Mark Zuckerberg is in the metaverse and he's running through and he stops at a tree and saying, "This looks like a lovely tree. Look at those flowers." And I'm like, oh my God, like what is happening to the world?
Oh my God. You know who would actually make a really good virtual like object? Mark Zuckerberg. He literally looks like a thumb.
Looks like
He's.
I feel like he is already in the metaverse in the real world. I feel like in many ways.
Yes. Yeah, that's what.
But we love you, Mark. You make a lot of things. The eternal question of Mark Zuckerberg will always be that true innovator, genius, all that stuff, but also like created a lot of stuff which is been supremely, I don't want to use the word toxic, but supremely troublesome for the world.
Toxic. Varun is back.
Toxic.
But last story of the day, guys, and then we get into recommendations is what's next in tourism. So this has absolutely nothing to do with anything that we've discussed till now. But I thought we'd switch gears and talk about an industry which we don't end up covering that much on Think Fast. But of course, tourism is seeing all kinds of like new shoots, come out, and I'm not referring only to the sudden interest in going to the Maldives and taking pictures, in one of the resorts.
It's amazing to go to Maldives. It's a lovely place to go.
I know, I went like 4 years ago before it became popular. But in any case, getting back to tourism more specifically, is you're seeing a lot of like subcategories and sub niches come out, right? So this story actually came from an article that I read about sustainable tourism picking up a fair bit, and you're seeing all things like eco lodges and ecotourism, etc. come up. Another really interesting niche that I'm very bullish on in the Indian context is tourism around wildlife parks and sanctuaries. I went to Gir last year. I'm sure Varun, you'll go 3 years after me. But in any case,
excuse me, I also went to Maldives 4 years ago. Okay, just for clarification, I went when child was 6 months old, and now she's almost 5. So technically, I might have gone before you. I'm just letting you know.
Oh,
maybe कहता है अभी शेर देख के आया मैं वापस.
Okay, cool. No, but guys, I'm just troubling Varun as I always do in every episode. But long story short, I was pleasantly surprised by one, the number of people in Gir. Second, not just number of people in Gir's resorts, but also the people going to the Gir Wildlife Sanctuary. You're suddenly seeing places like Kaziranga pick up. I know you went to Tadoba National Park recently. But long story short, these really cool niches emerging. So if I had to ask you, right, if you had to bet on one trend in the travel industry which you think will blow up, what do you think it'll be?
I honestly feel that stuff, where is it? I have just mumbled my way through that response. But I feel people want to go to spaces that aren't as crowded. I feel a lot of the kind of tourism spots that are opening up where people seem to be going is literally they might not be exotic locations, but they're really peaceful locations. And I feel that I've literally seen resorts even around Bombay, which are literally old farmhouses turned into a small place where you have a pristine lake, you have good food and everything else. I think people are gravitating towards that mode. Even if you look at the Airbnb listings kind of scaled up in this space, it's been that. So I feel people are moving towards that a lot more, because you had the option of going to a large resort is always there. But the more people I've spoken to in recent times, especially working professionals, they're all saying, okay, I want to go away from the city, not to another huge bunch of people in one space. I want to go to a place that feels a lot more peaceful, feels a lot more relaxed, and not too many people around. I feel that that's where it might be gravitating.
Yeah, I think, one space that I hope really picks up in India specifically is, design-led tourism. I feel for so long, hotels and properties have been very boxy, right? And very standardized. But I think, especially with, places like there's this really cool chain, so to speak, called RAS, RAAS. They have a gorgeous property in Jodhpur, which is designed by Studio Lotus. And, they've got another property in Devigarh, and they just, they took over management of Raj Mahal, which is another gorgeous hotel in Jaipur. So you're seeing that, then to the point that you made, there's a lot of boutique properties coming up that also focus on design. So Jaipur, in fact, has this a very cool property called the Johri. So the and JOHRI. You guys have to check this place out on Instagram. I have a couple of friends who've gone there. I've been to the Johri, but I haven't stayed there. The design is impeccable. It's literally you feel like you're in this modern Indian French space, and just everything's just done so beautifully. So I hope one thing that picks up, a niche that picks up, is just really well designed spaces. Our producer Jalasmi is adding Sujan as well, right? I've stayed at a Sujan property called Sherbagh. They have the most stunning camping furniture. made by this brand called GNR Guram. Super expensive, but like gorgeous. Like you have to see this. It's all like, like canvas and like wood and very like British and like Raj and royal. But long story short, I am really bullish on design picking up. I think especially for your, a traveler who is discerning yet adaptive, factors like this, go a long way.
I feel what's also an add-on to this is that while there are larger properties, a lot of affordable ones in this space have also come up. Like people are building out smaller, like are taking old farmhouses, stuff like that. I know a couple of people who actually moved out of Bombay, quit their jobs and became farmers in their around Kodaikanal, and they've built this entire lovely space where you can actually go learn how to farm with them, stay
How
there.
fun.
And so it's not that all of this has to be expensive, even like design-led stuff, even sustainable stuff. The good part now, I think that one thing the pandemic has done is it's brought up this crop of really interesting spaces to kind of go as a group. And the more and more that happens, I feel I think that's the big boost for tourism, right? Is the fact that you can actually have so many more of these crop up instead of just this cut, copy, paste of a resort, which we had for a long time, which is literally, what you were getting, what was going to be in that breakfast buffet there, what was going to be the star attraction, which is going to be that one pool and stuff like that. But I think now the good part is there's so much more that you're getting to explore, even near where you live, compared to before. I think that's been the big win for tourism as it's come back from the pandemic to some extent, whatever it's come back to.
Absolutely. And, what you brought up, like experiential is one big thing. I think the second there's more supply of places like this, my hope is that it also makes Indian travelers much like better in terms of their expectations and what they want. So for example, like I'd gone to a boutique stay sometime last year, and the thing with boutique stays is like you play by their rules, right? You can't go there and like throw your weight around, and obviously one thing that irked me a little bit is this like very desi tendency of I have gone to a property, but I will dictate what is made for breakfast. And there was this really awkward experience where this like lady was shouting at the staff saying, "Mere aloo paranthe kahan pe hai?" And I'm sorry, but I can't eat omelette every day. Like, you know what I mean? Like a lot of that needs to go away from.
Aloo parathe bana lo aap khud ke liye.
No, but it's this very like Raju Bhaiya mentality, right?
It's terrible.
आप मेरे भैया हो, ये मेरा घर है और मैं जो घर पे खाती हूँ वो यहाँ पे भी मिलेगा. And again,
Please
I'm not
go
saying
for
this in a
Kesari
condescending
Travels.
way. Exactly. No, but like, keeping that aside, I do think this tourist will also get with it once there is this sort of supply that's built for, a larger sort of populace, where they realize that, when you go to a place, you need to live by their rules versus, expecting everything is JW Marriott and everyone will cook you your, aloo parantha.
Kesari Travels people, and this is a disclaimer for anyone. Please do not go to places like Venice and sit in front of me when I'm trying to like soak in the experience and pull out freaking khakras and doklas.
Oh my God.
I'm sitting in St. Mark's Square in Venice. Auntie Ji has pulled out fucking doklas in front of me. I'm like, Auntie, please, आपका लाल cap और आपका dokla निकले, please, मेरे vantage points निकलेंगे. Oh my God. I'll never forget in my life. I'm like, because I was soaking it in, and I'm not a soaker in person. I'm like, I genuinely am enjoying this space. I feel like it's a great experience that we'd just gone for our honeymoon. And this one troop of red caps and doklas came towards me. No, I'm not going after one community here. I was just like, I'm like, but oh my God, like seriously, guys. But yes, don't be those people, even in India.
Yeah. Please don't.
No aloo parathas,
but that's
no
it. That's our episode, guys.
That's our episode.
Yeah.
You have to come back with recommendations. I have a lovely recommendation to give, but we will do that after the break. Welcome back to Think Fast, where I am still considering what my lovely recommendation is. Let me ask Deadpool. Deadpool, what is your recommendation, my dear friend?
Varun is in a mood today. I swear, thank God. I am like laughing my ass off.
I woke up 10 minutes before this recording had to happen. So I woke up and I'm like, oh wait, I have a recording in 10 minutes. So this is me.
Oh my
feeling
God,
this
really?
morning.
I need to prepare before recordings, guys. Like, I need to take like the world's like longest dump. I need to like shower.
No, I will go
I need
dump
to have a
after this.
nice breakfast.
Recommendation,
I
guys,
need
have a
to
good dump.
2 cups. Sorry. Okay, yes. A good dump goes a long way.
It does. But the gut is your second brain. If you take care of your gut, then you think well. So just
Dude, I am very bullish. I know
Same
we
here.
guys are joking about like, piles, care and this, that,
gut
the
health
other.
is very important.
Yeah, I totally softer wag, guys. I
That's
have a
actually my
recommendation for
recommendation.
you
There's a
if you have
book
gut
called
issues.
Gut. Buy that book. It's a lovely book. It teaches you a lot about how your gut really is important to you.
Great. And now that we've had literally enough shit talk, so I'll give recommendations. I think one is a book. So I have been struggling with my reading, from the start this year because there's just been too much work going on. I picked up this book called Anna, which is unofficial biography of Anna Wintour, and it's by Amy Odell. And it's actually a really like fun, semi-gossip, page flipper kind of book. So highly recommend. Basically, if you've been struggling with getting back into reading and you
Hello,
just need...
madam, you're getting old. You recommended this book before.
No, I haven't. I said I bought the
Jealous
book.
me
I
has
never
called
said
you
I...
out.
Oh my God. Jealous me 1 second. Just like rewind. In that episode, I categorically said I ordered the book. I never said I started reading the book. So now that I've started reading the book, okay, theek hai, jealous me, I'll give you another recommendation. There's this really cool band, guys, which you can listen to. It's called Girlhood. I have been obsessed with their songs. They have this song called A Woman Like Me and The Love I Need. Great songs. But yes, so there you go, jealous me.
I have another recommendation,
especially for you.
It's called
Which is?
Take a Holiday, if you can. I will be taking very soon. Who will you find as a co-host?
How many holidays have you taken? I love this, man.
You
have literally gone on. I love this. Like, I want to be like you when I'm 40.
I mean, what's the point of hustling so hard and working so hard in life if you can't get to enjoy
Working
it?
26 hours a day.
And considering I'm going to be 40 in...
I agree.
2 months. Not 1.5 months. I'm going to be 40.
Yeah.
So I'm working towards it. But this is a family
Arun,
holiday.
we must meet before your 40th birthday.
Yes, I think we should meet.
We really must.
I will come back from the London and we're meeting the 4-hour work week sampling karke. I will come back and we shall meet.
4-day work week.
4 days.
Yes.
4 hours
And with that, it's an episode.
Yes, that's an episode. Deadpool also says bye. Bye, guys.